You are now listening to the Building Her Dream podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with introverted women entrepreneurs who are building their dream lives and businesses on their own terms. Hosted by business operations strategist, author, and the founder of Building Her Dream, Shayla Burton. To learn more about this podcast and our magazine, visit www.buildingherdream.com. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm your host, Shayla Burton, and this is the Building Her Dream podcast. I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is the money coach for moms whose mission is to make money easy and empower moms to create wealth without the sacrifice, all while fostering a healthy relationship with money and teaching their kids valuable financial skills. She is the founder of the Money School for Moms. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia, we have Eileen Joy. Hi, Eileen. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Shayla. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited. I could talk about money for hours.
Wonderful. Well, we'll talk about money for a little bit. I don't know about for hours, but thank you so much for being here. Now, before we get started, I always like to start off with a fun question. So if you could wake up tomorrow and have the perfect dream life, what would that look like for you? So where would you be? What would you be doing? What's your dream?
My dream keeps changing. I actually, every time I think about it, I'm like, no, I want to do this now. But that's the cool thing about dreams is that and living your dreams is that you can do whatever you want because it's your life.
Yes.
You know? So I think about this all the time, my vision of what's my perfect life. And basically all it really is it doesn't really matter where I am as long as I'm with the people that I love. And there are some places that I would love to live or visit or just travel. And like, that's really what I want. I really want to be able to just get up, be with the people I love, and be somewhere where it's peaceful, just peaceful. Like being in Switzerland, I think of peace, and like I tell my son all the time, let's go to Switzerland. And he's 11. And so he wants to go when he gets a little older so he can really enjoy it.
Okay.
But that's our dream together. We're going to go travel around the entire country of Switzerland together. And I know it seems odd whenever I tell people that. They're like, really? But yeah, no, I just like every day, I just want to wake up just with the people that I love and just get to do the things that make me happy. And that's really what I feel just having a successful and dreamy life is really.
Yeah, that's a beautiful dream, traveling with the people you love. I love that. And I've heard really great things about Switzerland, so that would be awesome for sure. So why don't you just tell me a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur? Like, how did that start?
My journey started from crying in the fetal position, to be quite honest.
Okay.
We all have a moment where we hit rock bottom at some point in our lives. And that's where my journey really began. It began from my divorce.
Okay.
And what had happened was while I was going through my divorce and I was interviewing all the attorneys and trying to figure out who to work with, one of the things that I kept mentioning to all of them was about my money. And I know that divorce can be extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
And I told them, oh, look, this is the amount that I have. Is this going to be a problem? And every single one of them said, oh, it's fine. You don't have to worry about it. It's not a problem. Well, it was a problem. So during my divorce, I ran out of money very quickly. And then the attorney's office started to harass me for money and telling me that they would seize my assets and stop services and do all these things until I paid them. And so the long story short was that I had to sell my house to pay for my divorce. And I also, at the same time, had to get a new job because I was working with my sister-in-law, who was making my life miserable in the office, and it just became a toxic environment, and I needed to leave. So I had to find a new job, and I had a great job. So thanks to the universe, I found another great job. But also at the same time, my son and I got into a really terrible car accident, and my car was totaled, and we both ended up in the hospital. And I'm still dealing to this day with a neck injury from that car accident. And this was all happening at the tail end of a bankruptcy. So I know it sounds like a really bad country music song, but that's what was happening in my life at the moment.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, when my divorce was final, I got a check in the mail from my attorney's office because they seized everything. They wouldn't let me have anything. And it was all the money that I had left in the world. And it was a check for $347. And so now I'm a single mom with a 5-year-old having to start all over with $347 to my name. And I did cry in the fetal position for quite a while, not knowing what to do. And then I picked myself up, I dusted myself off, put my big girl pants on and said, okay, we got to figure this out. And through a lot of support, through therapy, and just me putting one foot in front of the other and just saying to myself, okay, well, what's my next step? What do I need to do? What's next? And I picked myself up so fast and bounced back so fast that my friends started asking me, Eileen, what did you do? Because I was able to fully fund my emergency fund. I actually overfunded my emergency fund. I had to get a new car because of that car accident. And I had gotten a 6-year car loan because I wasn't sure about my money situation. I wanted to spread those payments out and make them as small as I possibly could.
Right.
And I was able to pay that off in 3 years. My credit score went from the very low 600s to now in the 800s. I'm completely debt-free, and I'm on track to retire early. And I did this in a very short amount of time. So that's why my friends are like, Eileen, what's the secret? And what's the magic? What's the magic?
Yes.
So I started helping my friends. And that's basically how it all got started, just from helping my friends. And then they started getting the same results as me. And then they started telling people about me. And then I was having a conversation with my son one day about it because he's like, Mommy, you're so good at money. And everyone comes to you. We just had this conversation about it. He's like, Mommy, you need to help other moms. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So many moms need help with this. Every woman deserves a financial education, and they don't teach it in school.
Right.
And my son's not learning about it in school, and they don't teach money in school, and they just expect us to wing it. And there's this huge problem in this country and all around the world with, people just not knowing, first of all, what to do with their money, and everyone's just spending it all, and everyone's, in debt up the wazoo, and really not knowing how to spend their money properly. And so I found this through just helping people. And so that's how Moms Who Money was born.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And it's interesting how many of us have started our businesses from, solving a problem that we have personally. And then we realize we have this really amazing skill set that we can use to help other people. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. So what year did you launch your company?
It was during COVID, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was during COVID. And that's when people were coming to me because they were realizing, because times were changing, and they were spending money differently.
Yeah.
And our social situation changed, and, we started talking about different things. And so that's when I was telling my friends about my own situation and my money and all these things and how excited I was. It was really me just telling them how excited I was about my own situation. And then that's when people were like, oh, you really should help people. And it's just blossomed. And just people are just, Eileen, help me. Eileen, help me. Eileen, help me. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help.
Yeah.
And, and then I created Money School for Moms. And that's because, we don't learn about money in school. And then I created this program because it's basically everything you never learned about money in school. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
program that I wish that I had, when I was learning about money, because there really is no program out there that's, first of all, live and get all your questions answered, and you learn everything that you need to know. And like, it cuts out all the fluff and all the money jargon and all the things that you really just don't even need to know. And all the
Yeah.
things that like Google University makes you feel like you need to know and confuses you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, money can be a really sensitive topic for people. So,
Yes.
how do you help moms like really develop a healthy relationship with money and overcome any like fears or anxieties they have about it?
That's actually step one, money
Okay.
mindset, because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people out there that are afraid of their money and just don't even want to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And step one is really looking at it, you know? And if you're so afraid to even just look at it, it's like the ostrich with the head in the sand. And it's like, okay,
Right.
it'll just go away. It'll go away on its own. I promise. It's just gonna go away, but it doesn't go away and it gets worse,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's because in this country specifically, money is such a taboo subject. It's like sex and politics, religion, all of these subjects that people either don't talk about or they talk about so much and then it causes so much controversy that people like to, and then there's people that avoid it, right? Like money. So people are so embarrassed about their money situation that it's not like you go out for nachos with friends, right? And you're like, hey, how much money did you make last week? How much debt
Mm-hmm.
are you in? It's not a conversation that we have. And
Yeah.
it's a conversation that we need to have, you know? And so what I do is to really help you hone in on your money story, because your money story is where it all begins. And also knowing that your kids have a money story and
Mm-hmm.
that you've already programmed them. And so the way that the money story works is when we're between the ages of 0 and 7, when we're
Mm-hmm.
born, we're programmed, right? Our subconscious is being programmed by all of the messages that your body's receiving. And what happens is like you learn about money from your parents and
Mm-hmm.
from your environment. But where'd your parents learn about money from?
Mm-hmm.
Their parents and their environment, right? And then your grandparents, they learned about money from your great grandparents, and so on and so on and so on and so on. And it just goes back to all these generations of all these money stories, fast forwarded to now, that are now your money story, right? Because you learned about money from your parents and your environment.
Right.
And you don't even realize, right? Because no one is really sitting down with you and showing you what to do with money. You're just learning by taking in these messages. So between the ages of 0 and 7, all these messages are now living in your subconscious. And it's not just money, it's everything in your life. That's how you learn, right? So as you get older, you're still receiving these messages, and it just keeps building upon itself. And so by the time that you get a job and you have your own money and you start spending your own money, now you have all of these issues with money going on in your head. And that's where the money anxiety comes from. The shame, the
Mm-hmm.
embarrassment, the guilt, all these feelings that people have about money. And so really honing in on what your money story is, for example, and how did your money story get formed? And what is your money story? Like, how do you feel about money? And really honing in on that and getting to the root of where that came from and what it actually is. And we dive deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
And really getting to the nitty-gritty of that, then you can understand how to rewrite it and how you want it to change and how do you want to feel about money instead of how do you feel about money, right? And it's like, do
Mm-hmm.
you, instead of having the lack and the scarcity and being scared, instead you want to feel the flowy feel of money and the
Right.
abundance and the luxury and all these other things that everybody wants. And then
Mm-hmm.
in your mind, you say, oh, well, I can't have that. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. It is possible, and it's like your whole life you've been told no, like, mommy, can I have that? No, and all these things, right? Everything's no, no, no with money. And, or the messages that you receive. Like for me personally, in my family, my mom was a spender, still is.
Mm.
And my dad, he was also a spender and he also had a gambling addiction.
Okay.
And so they both made great money, but it was always gone. And then my mom, she would max out credit cards and then complain about the bills. And she still does that to this day. I still hear her do it when we're on the phone. What are you doing, Ma? Paying the bills. The bills, and it's like, and these are the messages that you receive, that I received when I was growing up. And then also, because my dad had the gambling addiction and they were both spending, they were always fighting.
Mm.
And the fights were so bad, so bad. There were holes punched in walls, furniture thrown, like really bad fights. And my sister and I would always just run to our rooms and close the door and like wait for the fight to be over. And the day my sister graduated high school, she ran away from home. Like that's how bad it was. It was so bad.
Wow.
And I didn't talk to her for over 20 years. I started talking to her again right when my dad got sick, right before he passed away.
Mm.
It was all because of the environment that was created because of money. So because of that, my sister and I grew up with money is bad. Money causes fights. When you get money, you just get rid of it and all of these things. And you only use credit cards. We don't use cash. So when I was growing up, when I went away to college, first thing I did was get a credit card and max that out. Then I got another one and max that one out. Then I got another one and max that out. So I graduated college with $30,000 of credit card debt. That's not even student loans. That was
Wow.
credit card debt. Great way to start off your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you really think about your own money story and where that originated and why you think about money the way you do and how you feel about money the way that you do, it's really easy then to start rewriting your story. And so then it becomes easy to actually look at your money because now you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to rewrite the story. You want to learn how to live with abundance. You want to learn how to create wealth. You want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. And then you also realize that you've already programmed your kids. And now you need to
Mm.
help them rewrite their money story because
Yeah.
they're going to grow up the same way as and whatever money mistakes you're making, they're going to make them too. And you don't
Right.
even realize that. So like the mindset piece is so key because I can give you the strategy and say, here, I'm going to write this down for you, do this, and you won't do it. You'll make any excuse in the book to not do it. You'll go clean your house instead of looking at you'll go clean your neighbor's house before you'll
Mm-hmm.
look at your own money because of that piece of the fear and the anxiety and the embarrassment and all of those feelings that come up around money.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
best place to start.
That's interesting. I never thought about my money story. And as you were talking, I was thinking, like, well, yeah, my parents never really taught me anything about money or saving. The only thing I can think of is that, my dad worked a lot to make money. So that's the only thing that I can think of. Otherwise, my parents didn't really talk about money. But I love that you are not only, teaching moms, but also helping them to teach their kids, so that they can make better choices from an early age.
It's
Yeah.
so important because my son, he just turned 11 in February.
Mm-hmm.
and he knows more about money than most adults.
Mm.
It's so amazing. Like recently we were at the park with one of his friends, and I was with his friend and his mom, and we were having a picnic at the park, and then they went to go play. And so while we were eating, all of a sudden I heard my son and his friend talking about the stock market. And my son, it was hilarious. And they're the same age. And so my son was explaining to his friend the difference between a bull market and a bear market. And
Mm.
his mom looked at me, and she's like was looking at me and then looking at them, looking at me and looking at them. And then she said, "Your son's amazing." And I was like, "I know, your son can be too." You
Yeah.
know, and it's so interesting because another time my son and I were at the store, we're always talking about money. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that you do with kids, is that you just normalize the talk about money. You talk about it like the weather, or what are you going to have for dinner? Like,
Yeah.
how much money do you have? It's nothing. Money has no harmful meaning to him at all in his mind. Like, he even tells me all the time, he's like, I think of money like a friend. He doesn't
Mm.
have any ill will towards it. And so one day we were talking in the store, and it was really interesting because he said something to me. It was rather alarming. So he said, "Mommy, people that are rich are mean and greedy, right?" And he said, "I don't want to be rich because I'm a kind and generous person, and I don't want to be mean and greedy." And I
Mm.
looked at him and I said, "Where did you hear that? I never said that." And he said, "On a cartoon."
Oh.
Right. And
Huh.
then I said, "Which one?" And I was like, and then we got into this even deeper conversation, because like what I was saying before about your money story, it's not only your parents, it's your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's all the messages that are coming at you from everywhere. And the cartoon, that's just one example of millions. Right. So
Yeah.
the person that wrote the cartoon put their money story into the character. Right. And now that's infiltrating the kids. So it's
Wow.
really important for us to have, first of all, our own healthy relationship with money and know what to do with it so that you can teach your kids and you
Mm-hmm.
can set them up for life. Like my son, by the time he's my age, he's going to be a multimillionaire. He's not going to have to worry at all ever about money because he's set up, you know, and he'll have that opportunity of choice when he gets older. He can choose to have a job if he wants one. He can choose to go travel the world if he wants to. He can choose to start a business if he wants, or multiple business as he says he wants to
Mm-hmm.
do, and all these different things. And he wants to do all kinds of volunteer work and all these things, which he can do. So he can easily slide into his dreams because he now is set for life with money, and he's not going to have to worry about that. And he can just go have fun for the rest of his life once he finally gets out of school.
Yeah.
And that's what we as parents really need to understand, is that we need to do that for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Set your kids up now. Doesn't matter how old they are. Just start, you know, and set them up now so that they maybe can pay for their own college, depending upon how old they are right now. My son is 11. He's saving to buy a car.
Mm. Okay.
I'm not buying him a car. So I set him up, and like, he gets an allowance every week. So with his allowance, he saves money, he gives money, he donates to charities, and he's saving to buy a car. And then he's got his spending money, and he
That's
allocates
awesome.
it every single month. And so that's the exact same thing that I teach the moms, the same way I teach my son. It's really so easy, and people are just making it so hard. And it's not. It's easy and fun. And it's once you
Yeah.
get over yourself, and you really understand that everything that you're thinking about money is just a thought, and it's meaningless unless you put a meaning on it. You can
Mm-hmm.
make money so easy and fly.
Yeah, for sure. Now you help women have a more healthy relationship with money without sacrificing their life. I know as entrepreneurs, maintaining like a work life, I don't like the word balance, but alignment is a common struggle for us, right? How do
Yes.
you prioritize, self-care and your personal life while also growing your business?
That was a struggle for me at first, let me tell you,
Sure.
because being a single mom, first of all, and then also working a job and
Mm-hmm.
having a business and trying to be a friend. I have friends that are like,
Yeah.
Eileen, can I see you? Hello, can we get together? You know, and then also maybe going for a massage or taking a nap, you
Yes.
know, and, just doing all the things. So for me, it took a while to really figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it really all came down to what are my priorities?
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, my goal in life with my business is to be able to spend as much time as I can with my son while he's still young and still wants to hang out with me
Yeah.
before he gets too old and he's like, peace out, mom. So right now, well, he's my best friend. We do everything together. And I
Mhm.
treasure that time that we have together. So for me personally, I balance everything around that. So for
Mhm.
me, it came down to my priorities and then my boundaries. So
Okay.
it's protecting my priorities and then making boundaries around that,
Mm.
you know? So I have, while he's in school, I work. When he's
Mhm.
out of school, I stop.
Yeah.
And then occasionally I fit some stuff in if I need to, which he's totally cool with and he loves because he also has been on interviews with me because he loves being interviewed too.
Oh, wow.
And then, I do my podcast. He's done some of his own podcast episodes and, so he likes to get involved. But with everything else, I just look at my calendar and I'm like, these are the time I put time on my calendar, block out time for myself. And then I put block out time for friends. Like this weekend, I'm going to a concert. I haven't gone to a concert in so long since
Mhm.
COVID. Like I used to go to concerts all the time. And then COVID just everything changed. And then I
Right.
just stopped paying attention. And then someone invited me to a concert and I was like, oh, yes, I really want to go. you know, and, it's just really taking control over that is really understanding what are your priorities. And do you need a massage? Do you
Mm.
need to go take a walk? I want to go hiking for an hour or
Mhm.
whatever it is, spending time with the people that you love. Those are priorities. And then you want to create the boundaries around it. And then you create working hours, you
Yes.
know? And there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are still doing both, where they're working a corporate job or whatever job and building a business. And so when you have that, then you have even less time. But so it's just really figuring out the structure of what's important to you and what are those needle moving activities that you can do during that time instead of just pushing the paper clips around, you know?
Mhm.
And a lot of paperclip pushing can happen when you get overwhelmed. And that can
Yes.
happen due to an overfilled schedule and an overfilled life. And when you say yes to everything. So you also have to learn how to say no to some things,
Exactly.
and really listen to your sacral, listen to your gut. I'm into a lot, I'm into energy. I'm
Mm.
so into energy. I'm a very woo-woo person as well. But I can go on for that too. But anyways, but like listen to your sacral, listen to your gut. And when your gut is telling you that it is a no, then it is a no.
Yeah.
If your first instinct when someone asks you to do something and it's like, oh, I really, and then you say yes, you're going to hate yourself.
That's
you
true.
know? So it's really just practicing saying no to the things that are really a no, or even sometimes a maybe, and just saying yes to the things that are really a yes. And then it will open up some time for you. And then it will also give you more peace.
Mm.
And then that overwhelm won't overtake you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Saying no is very difficult sometimes, but
Yes.
it's absolutely necessary for sure. Mhm. Um, Entrepreneurship has a lot of ups and downs. Of course, everyone knows this. And failure is a part of it as well. Can you think of a specific like setback or failure that you may have encountered while running your business? And then what did you do to I guess, learn from it. And yeah.
What I have found, because I have done so much work on myself, so much work, deep, deep
Mm,
work, lots of tears, lots of breakdowns. And a lot of this happens when you start a business because you can, when you first have the idea of starting a business, and that's normally, I want to help people. Now
right.
what? What's next? What do I do? How do I do that? And no one really knows what it takes to make that happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you think that first thought of, I want to help people, I want to start a business, whatever it is, whether it's selling products or providing a service, right? It all comes down to getting out of your own way.
Yes.
And that's my biggest obstacle, is getting out of my own way,
Okay.
because everything is all about fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all have fears. And every time you conquer a fear, a new one surfaces. It's like,
True.
bam, there's a new one, you know? And we all have them. And then we all want to portray ourselves as fearless,
Mm,
right? But I don't do that, because I am not fearless, and neither are you, and neither is anybody else on this planet, because that's just the way the human brain works,
yeah.
right? We have that fight or flight and the monkey brain and all the things. We make up the stories. Everybody does it. And yet we try to ignore it. And
Mm,
that's my biggest obstacle, is I'll get up and I'll say, okay, today I have to do blah, blah, blah. And then I'll try to talk myself out of it for whatever reason, if I'm feeling fearful that day about something,
yeah.
and we all do it. We
Mm-hmm.
make the excuses, oh, I'll do it later, or, and those have been my biggest obstacles. Like
Mm,
there's a great book and a sequel to the book.
okay.
There's called Who Moved My Cheese? I don't know if you've heard of that book. It's
I
such a
think
good
it
book.
sounds familiar, but I definitely have not read it.
Okay, go check it out. You can get it from the library. So Who Moved My Cheese? And then the sequel, I think it's called Out of the Box, or Out of the Maze, Out of the Maze. And so these books were written all surrounding fear. And essentially the theme of the book is, what would you do if you were not afraid?
Mm,
And it's written in such a way. I read it to my son too. We read it together, both books. And he gleaned so many messages from this book. I do so much personal growth with my son because I know he needs it. And I didn't have that when I was growing up. And I love like all the work that I've done on myself, and all all that I've learned about the
mhm.
brain, and just how you can be happy and how you hold yourself in this mind prison, and I don't want that for him. So yes, I
Yeah.
teach him about money, but yes, we also do personal growth. And so we're constantly reading and doing things. And so when we read this book, like we turned the page, and on the page it said in big letters, what would you do if you were not afraid? And he looked at me and said, Mommy, that's so powerful,
Mm,
and it is. And so every time that I go to take myself out of something, I always think about that. What would I do if I was not afraid?
wow.
You know, and I just feel that's the biggest obstacle for everyone, but no one's really talking about it,
Yeah.
because a lot of time failure is failure. You can launch something and it'll fall flat. You can put out a post and you get one like or no like, that doesn't matter at all. It's just that you don't quit, because
Hmm.
the only people that fail are the people that quit. If you're
That's
still
true.
putting one foot in front of the other every single day, doing 1% better than you did yesterday, you're still moving forward, you know? And then what would you do if you were not afraid? Like, that's my mantra every day. What would you do if you were not afraid? Just let it go. Let it go.
Right.
Who
Right.
cares? No one cares. You know?
Yeah.
And it's really
Yeah.
just the cumulative actions of everything that you do that add up, So it's like, I've been doing this for years now. And it's like, I look back on when I first started and where I am now, and it's, wow, holy cow, And I
Yeah.
remember like the first live that I ever did on Instagram, I think my voice was like,
Mm,
nervous, but I did it.
Yeah.
And the more you do things, the more comfortable you get at it and the better you get at it. And then you realize what you like and don't like. And, and so what if you fail? So what?
Yeah.
You just pick yourself up and try something else, you know?
Mhm.
And a lot of people think like everyone's watching. They're waiting for me to fall on my face. Well, you know what? What are they doing? They're doing the same thing. They're scared, you know?
Exactly.
And if you just remember that everyone else is scared too, and they're only putting out the best, like the only thing that you see is the best thing that they got, You're
Right.
not seeing all the outtakes. You're not seeing their breakdowns. You're not seeing all the things, and everyone is going through it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Everyone is scared too. That's a good thing to remember, because you're right. People are putting out the best versions of themselves, but we're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because if you really think about it, the life coaches out there and the business coaches out there, they all say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's 20% knowing the strategy and 80% mindset, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, Eileen, it's been so great chatting with you. Like, we're running out of time, but I would love to continue talking with you, because you're sharing a lot of, insightful information. But before we go, I did want to give you the opportunity to share where our listeners can find more information about you and the Money School for Moms.
That would be great. Thank you, Shayla. The
Yes.
easiest place to reach me is through my website. It's
Okay.
momswhomoney.com. And you can find me all my socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can email me. You can set up a consultation. Everything's on my website. You can listen to my podcast, everything. My podcast is also called Moms Who Money.
Moms Who Money. I love that. That's really awesome. So we'll definitely check out your website and your podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, Eileen.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I told you I could talk for hours.
You're welcome. And thank you to our audience for listening. This has been another episode of the Building Her Dream podcast. If you've enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, leave us a review, and stay up to date with what we're doing by visiting www.buildingherdream.com.